Anetons, connecting professionals.
All right, so good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. Good morning, Jenny. Good morning, everyone. So, so today we are going to talk about enrollment methods, okay, and what are the prerequisites for each method. So there are enrollment methods for iOS and Windows devices. Then Windows Android devices are there, and Mac devices. Okay, so primarily we are dealing with these four platforms, and we should know how to enroll these devices. Okay, so we'll talk about these different enrollment methods, what are the prereqs, and how we can achieve it. So before setting up your environment, whether it's a new account or whether it's an old account, you should know what things should be configured, and accordingly you can take the necessary action if there is any enrollment failure happens. All right, so first we will talk about iOS. Okay, so iOS devices, I believe everyone is aware about, like we're talking about iPhones and all. Okay, so there are, like, iOS devices can also be enrolled in Intune, but there are three methods. Okay, one method that is called your manual method. Okay, and manual method, uh, in manual method you are basically doing BYOD. Okay, this is like bring your own device concept. Here people are using their personal devices, right? And with these personal devices they want to enroll in Tune so they can leverage corporate data and corporate access of resources. So that is called BYOD. So the first enrollment method is for in iOS is manual enrollment, BYOD. The second enrollment, that is called DEP. Okay, so full form is, for this is device enrollment program. Okay, that is short form is DEP. Okay, so this is especially for company owned devices, and this provisioning is especially when you're doing a bulk deployment. Bulk deployment means you have more than like 100 plus devices with you, and you want to do this in bulk. You don't want to go one by one. In such cases you are doing a DEP, right? And then Apple configurator, this is where you require to like you are configuring iOS devices. Okay, this Apple configurator method has been, like, it's not said deprecated, but it's less in use. Okay, so people are not using it that frequently, but commonly they are using like these two methods, manual and DEP. So let's talk about first enrollment, that is called manual, okay, method, and what sort of things we require in that. So manual method is basically when you're doing enrollment. Okay, sort of, let me drag it here so you guys can see it better. Okay, so manual method requires you a Intune license. Okay, manual method is typically, as I said, it's typically used for BYOD. This is typically for use for BYOD. So here you require a personal device. User must log in. So this is my iOS device. Okay, so first of all, this should be a personal device. Okay, second, user who's going to have this enrollment, he need to install a company portal application. Okay, you need to install a company portal application on this iPhone. In that, he need to give his login credential and password. Okay, this is OK button. So he need to give his username and password. So that is the way he is going to log in to this device on the company portal application. In that, first of all you need to check whether user is having a Intune license assigned to it or not. Okay, If the license is not assigned, user will not be able to log in to company portal application and enrollment will not work. Okay, that is the first thing. For setting up iOS devices for BYOD concept, we require an Intune license, we require an Apple ID, and we require a man in the middle. That is called APN. Okay, so Apple push notification. So let's assume uh, this is your Apple. Okay, and this is your device. All right, this is your device, and we require a connection in between, right? So in setting up this connection, so Apple does not allow anyone to directly communicate with any device or any MDM partner, iOS or Apple. They do not allow anyone to talk to their servers directly. Okay, for that they require a middleman. Okay, so this middleman is named as Apple push notification. We require to exchange a certificate from one from Apple to MDM solution, and then MDM solution will share another certificate to them. That way they will have a handshake. Okay, that handshake will ensure that yes, this Apple push notification is now ready to accept any policies which is being pushed by MDM to Apple devices. Okay, Apple devices, and whatever information is coming from Apple devices, that will be securely channelized through APNS to MDM solution. Okay, there should not be anyone who is like hijacking their system and doing anything. So what if MDM is being penetrated by someone, and the security is compromised, and they're trying to reach out to Apple devices, but before that they need to go to that APNS. Okay, and in APNS they need to tell that I'm going to share this security. Okay, but if APNS, it assumes presumes like, okay, this is regular MDM, but if he finds if there is in any behavior changes or any malicious objects are coming from this way, so it will stop that service right in there, and it will stop that MDM, or it may block the services right there. So that way we will have this Apple devices secure and safe. Okay, so that is why we require a APNS, and Apple is very much stringent in setting up things for their for their entire environment. They don't want anyone to directly enter into their ecosystem. So that is what iOS devices, and we were talking about the BYOD. All right, so now let's talk about the next, which is called DEP. Okay, so DEP is something, as I said, it is device enrollment program, which is uh, governed by Apple, and this especially facilitates the bulk enrollment, and this is especially used for the corporate devices. Okay, so this is a very like tricky question they ask in the interview as well. What is DEP? First of all, the short form is very confusive. So it is device enrollment program. Okay, and this is especially for corporate devices. Okay, this is not for personal. Okay, don't get confused. This is not for personal. People answer it like, okay, this is for personal, and DEP is something that we require when we are setting up a personal device. So it's not. It was never meant for personal devices. Okay, it was always meant for corporate devices. And DEP is something when we are requiring a bulk enrollment, right? So let's understand what things do we require when we are setting up DEP. So first of all, we require an Intune license. Okay, that appropriate Intune license is required to setting up this DEP profile. Then we require an Apple ID, and this Apple ID should not be personal, it should be corporate. Okay, corporate or something that your client is providing. And then we require a APNS. Okay, in this Apple push notification, a middleman who will be setting up, okay, all sort of things. So we are going to configure that. Then we require a Apple Business Manager. So Apple Business Manager is a free service which is provided by Apple. We just need to enroll. So we need to have a corporate email ID for that to set it up. And if you're trying to set it up through your what I say, personal account, it will not work. Okay, so you should have access to Apple Business Manager portal. Okay, then we require a serial number of the devices. Okay, so serial number devices, when you are importing or you have a your OEM, okay, or you have a retailer who's working on with the devices, they will definitely have that serial number with them. Okay, so they will provide you before in hand when you are setting up these devices. So first of all, we need to have these serial number. Then we will obtain these serial numbers from the OEM, and we will upload these serial numbers which are going to be managed in the ABM. Okay, then we require a DEP token. So this token, we will, when we will be going to configure, we have a special session for setting up DEP profile in our course. So no one is going to teach you on this. This is strictly either is going to be by the local admin team or someone like OEM or someone who is going to set it up. So Intune admin rarely get chance to work on the DEP profiles. Okay, they only get these profiles once these are uploaded, and you are going to only maintain and manage those devices. Okay, but in our environment we'll try to set this up as well. Okay, then we require a DEP profile here. So creation of DEP profile is required when we are going to configure the out of the box experience for the end user. Okay, so this is what we are going to set. This is for OOB. Okay, out of the box experience for the end users. Okay, so for the end users we're going, so DEP is not personal, this is specially meant for corporate. So first thing, it's for corporate devices. Okay, second thing, it's bulk provisioning. Okay, then we require a ABM to set it up. Okay, so these three things is essential, you should know it. Okay, so that was the profile. Okay, now we will talk about the Apple configurator. So Apple configurator is something, as I said, it is mainly used when you are setting up devices, iOS devices. Okay, so in this Apple configurator, we require a Mac machine. First of all, we require a license. So license is essential for every enrollment. It's not like without license you can enroll anything. You require that. Okay, here, for example, this is the laptop. Okay, so this is a Mac computer. Okay, this is a Mac computer, and this is your device. This is your Apple, this is your iOS device. So this is especially for iPhone, the configurator is used. So we require this Mac OS. So with that Mac OS, this is, we require to have a physical Mac OS machine. Okay, then we require a physical access to iOS devices. So we cannot do any provisioning offline or maybe over the air. We require a physical access to this device. So first we require a Mac device to install software. So what it will do, we will install a software. First of all, we will install Apple configurator software. Okay, and then we will create a enrollment profile here. Okay, we'll create an enrollment profile, and that enrollment profile will be pushed to this device with a wired connection. Okay, we require a physical attach. We require a physical connection. Okay, maybe through a wire or something. You need to connect this iPhone device to your Mac computer. Okay, if the connection is not established, it will not work properly. So either you can connect it physically via a wire, or you can connect it using a I mean any other board you can do it. But what you require to have, you need to copy the profile. You need to pass this, you need to pass this profile which is there on your Mac device. You need to pass it to iOS device, and then you can also do this using a USB. You can copy the profile on this device, and you can, I mean, rarely, I mean, I never tried doing the USB copy. Okay, it was always through the cable we were trying to connect a physical attach. Then we are creating an enrollment profile, and we were trying to copy that profile to that device. Now there are certain things which have changed now. Okay, now Apple, using a Apple configurator, what we can do, once the profile is pushed to one of the device, what one of the device, if it's pushed to one of, wait a second. Okay, so one, what I was saying, if one of the device is already having it's already configured, so what you can do, you can using a scanner. Okay, using a scanner, you can also scan this device, and you can also register this device using the Apple configurator. So but the challenge is here, you require one device, okay, which you having a physical access. You will put it here, then you will scan it through another device, okay, using a scanner. Okay, you will scan this device, and once this device is configured and enrolled, then you will leave it, then you will again add another device, again you will do a configuration by scanning the code, and then completing the enrollment on this. So this is very hectic, and this is very tedious task. No one is, to be very frank, this method is really being used. No one is completely currently using it, but I'm just telling you for the sake of, if what if any organization they're still using it, so you can at least tell them like what should be the criteria and how you can configure. But Apple configurator, so we have a very dedicated session for all these. So iOS, first Mac plus Windows, okay, we have an Android. So we have very dedicated sessions for all these, full session how to set all these things. So do not worry about anything. I'm just telling you the enrollment process, what sort of enrollments are there, and what you should do in your environment. So we require a physical access to iOS device, then we require Apple configurator installed on Mac device, then we require Apple push notification certificate, then this governance will work, and then we'll start pushing that iOS profile to iPhones, and then we will enroll that device as in corporate devices. Okay, now uh, this was the Apple configurator. So any mobile device management provider who are, I'll repeat it again, who are trying to connect or communicate with any uh, Apple devices, they require an Apple push notification service that will act as a security layer, which is like, I'll say, man in the middle, okay, who will talk to the Apple services, and the same it will transfer to MDM solution. So this APNS is nothing, it's simple, just it's a service. Okay, so we don't need to configure anything manually. As soon you will have Apple ID and you will configure your account, this APNS service will automatically, APNS service and certificates will be automatically installed. Okay, you don't need to do anything manually. Okay, and this certificate is valid for 1 year. Okay, so in 1 year, you need to set a reminder for this. As soon you are nearing or approaching to the end of the year, you need to renew that certificate. So again, how to renew it? This is your MDM, okay, and this is your Apple. So you need to exchange the certificate, okay, back and forth. So that way it will again extend for 1 year. Okay, so that's every year. This is a practice you need to perform to enable the APNet service and make the service consistent. So renewal is every 1 year. You require the same original uh, Apple ID. Okay, if you're trying to change the Apple ID or something in middle of or maybe next year, it will not work. Okay, so ensure you have same original ID, you have the extension of 1 year, and you require licenses. So licenses, either you can have a direct Intune license, or you can have a EMS E3 or E5 licenses. So these licenses will work in setting up all this iOS devices. Okay, so I hope everyone is clear about it.
Yes, we will.
Okay, so let's jump in to Windows enrollment. So Windows enrollment is very common. Everyone, aware about it. So there are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 methods are there for Windows enrollment. Okay, the first method is called manual, and in this manual we require to enroll the device in the device management. Okay, we will talk about it once we are covering the Windows module. In that we will be talking about more about these 5 possible ways to enroll Windows devices. So manual device enrollment is something when you go to start. I think everyone is using Windows. So when you go to start and when you go to settings, okay, from there you go to access work and school. Okay, let me show you if I can share this here. So if you go to settings, okay, and this is where you go to accounts, right? This is where you go to accounts, and this is where you go to access work and school, and this is where you need to connect that account, okay, by clicking. But we are not doing this one. Okay, we are not doing, so don't get confused, we are not doing this. What I'm telling you, what we require to do is here. This is what I'm talking. Enroll only in device management. So this is a hyperlink which enrolls the device to Intune but does not perform any Azure AD registration. Okay, I'm repeating again. When you're going to accounts and you clicking on enroll only in device management, this is called a manual enrollment, where it does not perform any Azure AD registration. Okay, so that is what I was telling you. Let's come here. So for this enrollment, what is the basic requirement we should be ready for? First of all, we require a Intune license. So EMS E3 or whatever your organization is having, that is required. We require a Windows 10. Now Windows 10 is end of life, but still I'm telling you what is versioning is required. If you are doing Windows 11, of course everyone is now upgraded to Windows 11, but still if there are some organization, they are still stick to Windows 10 and they are very small, or they require it for some XYZ reason. So not to worry about it. What we require a version here which is called 1607 or later. So ensure that we are meeting this criteria. If this criteria is fulfilled, you will be able to enroll the device with manual. Okay. Please go on mute if you're not speaking. Okay. Second enrollment is called auto enroll. So auto enroll is something when you are doing this is especially involves when user is clicking on connect. Now I'll again come to this point and I'll show you one more thing is, now this is what I said. When you click on accounts and when you click on access work and school, this is where I'm now talking. this is where you see there is a button called connect. Okay, this connect button will work when you have a auto enroll set. Okay, how to set this auto enroll? So we require a MDM scope that we need to configure for the user. I hope everyone is remember when we were talking about auto enrollment. So in that enrollment we had options to choose it. uh, we had an options to choose for all or some and
Yes.
group, right? So this is where we need to set the MDM scope, and if the MDM scope is not set, the auto enrollment will not work. So reason of having this auto enrollment set, once we have the MDM scope defined, users will automatically, once they are clicking on connect button, okay, once they are clicking on connect button, behind scenes device will be automatically being configured in such a way. There is a huge lengthy process. Okay, we will be talking in our course in next upcoming sessions, like how does the device gets enrolled, what sort of backend services run in the background, what sort of steps that are being performed, and that to add this device to or register that device to your tenant. So all such, all these steps we will talking in the next coming sessions. So auto enrollment, we need to have MDM scope configured. We require a Intune license. We require Windows 10 machines. We require at least version of 1607 or plus, and MDM scope configured for user. Sometimes people are setting it for some, okay, or maybe they are setting up for the group, and if that user is not part of that group, the enrollment will not be working. Okay, so in that case, either first we need to add that user to that group. It requires he need to be the appropriate license assigned. He need to be genuinely using the relevant Windows devices with the relevant version, and then he will be able to enroll the device. Okay, so that is called auto enrolled. Next is GPO. So I hope everyone is aware about group policies, group policy objects, right? This is part of AD. Okay. So this is especially working when you have a domain joined devices. So if your environment is hybrid, okay, if your environment is hybrid and enrollment is already, like, your devices are already joined on-prem domain, so in that case you require a machine which is hybrid AD join in this state, like it's joined in both on-prem and your Azure AD. In that case we require to configure a Entra ID Connect. I hope you guys remember we did that last session. So Entra ID Connect, in that case we require Entra ID Connect to synchronize both hybrid environment on-prem plus Entra ID, right? In that case GPU is required. So what we can do in GPU, we can enable the MDM enrollment. Okay, so once the MDM enrollment is set via GPU, and if the device is hybrid and joined on-prem and cloud both, in that case GPU will trigger our enrollment and that device will auto domain join. That device will be automatically added. Okay, that is called called GPU. So I'm think I did clear. Yeah, here it is. So this is called GPU setup. What we require in this, we require Intune license, we require Windows 10, we require a version of 1607, MDM scopes to be set, GPU to be applied to OU. So if the device is not part of the if it's not part of relevant OU, the group policy will not apply, right? So we require that group policy. If we require that group policy to be applied, we require that machine sitting in the right OU. Okay, and then that machine needs to be hybrid Azure AD joined. Okay, if it's not hybrid AD joined, GPU will not work. All right. And if you are setting up any policies from Intune, that will be difficult for that machines to enroll. So ensure that we have the device talking to your on-prem, okay, and your cloud both. Okay, this is your device, for example. This should be talking to both the world, okay, and then we require machines to be sitting in the right OU. And if everything is fine, then GPU will be applied. Okay, so that was group policy objects. Then there is another method. Another method is that is called autopilot. So autopilot, especially like it is comparable if you say we were doing the legacy imaging. Okay, if you guys are coming from SCCM background, you must be knowing this. It was really uh, you know tough, and it was really pain, at times when you're setting up imaging. You're trying and testing on multiple devices, it's failing, you require a task sequence, you require a package and all sort of things. So it was really difficult for managing. Now autopilot, which is especially for the bulk deployment, autopilot has made us our life, especially IT admin's life, easier. Okay, in that, in comparable to iOS, iOS dev, if we say device enrollment program, which is also used for bulk deployment, and that can also be requiring. But here the situation is different. Autopilot especially handles devices, both the devices. Okay, first, which are Azure AD joined, and there are like they have Intune enrollment set. Okay, so autopilot requires an premium license. Okay, so we require Entra ID premium. So we require a premium license because the device gets, because the device is going to connect with Entra ID. Okay, so in that case we require a premium license. If we don't have premium license, it will not work. Okay, so we require a premium license, and instead of serial number, we like in iOS we require a serial number, right? Here we do not require any serial number, we require hardware hash. Okay, what we require? We require a hardware hash. Okay, so we require a hardware hash which needs to be uploaded to Intune. Then we require autopilot profile that to configure the out of the box experience. So out of the box is called OB experience for end users. And hybrid Azure AD joined autopilot, there are two set. One, you are just registering the device. Okay, you're just registering the device, that is the first method. And second is called hybrid AD joint. Okay, so in that case, in hybrid AD join, we require a ODJ connector. Okay, let's talk here. So first we require a license. Second, we require a version where we require at least 1703 or later versions will work. We require a hardware hash that to be uploaded to Intune. So hardware hash, sometimes what happens if you are taking it from OEM, okay, so original manufacturer who's manufacturing the device, they will also getting a portal through which they can upload the hardware hash of the device, and then they will confirm that yes, hardware hash been successfully uploaded, and we are requiring to uh, target the right autopilot deployment profile. Okay, so here OEM will upload, or you can also upload the hardware hashes in bulk through the script, or if you're doing it manually, you can also do that. Then MDM scope configured for the user, so that is mandatory step. Okay, that needs to be there. Autopilot deployment profile we need to set. So as I said, there is two profiles that we need to create. Physical device for self deployment. So if you're doing a self deployment stuff, We require a physical device access because we need to press F8 and all sort of things we need to do. So we'll talk about when you're doing the practical in demos sessions. And we require a ODJ connector, especially for hybrid autopilot. So ODJ connector is not required when you are doing only Intune registration. ODJ is especially required when you're doing a hybrid. This is an interview question. It is being asked, when you're setting up a Windows autopilot profile, when is the ODJ connector required? So ODJ connector is especially required when you're doing a hybrid autopilot profile. If you're not doing hybrid auto profile, you're just doing a testing sort of things. In that case, you don't need or ODJ. Okay. Then we require a direct network line of sight, means we require the device to be connected over the network. And then domain join profile. So domain join profiles we'll talk about when you're setting up. So what profile should we choose to configure autopilot, and then we are doing the bulk deployment. All right, so all this, like 4 methods, especially group policies and autopilot, auto enrollment. So these are especially when you're doing a corporate devices, all this is for like you're doing a corporate device, and this is when you're doing a corporate device. In that scenario, this will work. Okay. But if you're trying to attempt it on your physical machines, you're trying to enroll the device and all sort of things, so it will not work. And not to try, to be very frank, it is something like, especially these methods are designed for the corporate devices, company owned devices. So try utilizing this in such scenarios only. Okay. Now next, we'll be talking about the co-management. So co-management, I hope everyone is aware about it. Like we having lots of talk for co-management, because people who are coming from SCCM, they are going to leverage this co-management. So co-management is something when you're using SCCM and you want to leverage to enroll the devices to Intune. For example, SCCM works devices which are on-prem. Which are on-prem, right? Now we need to set these devices to Intune. Okay, so for that we require a co-management. Okay, we require a co-management to set these connection. So especially when you are trying to connect your on-prem devices, which is on your SCCM, which is being taken care by SCCM, and you want this to be in Intune, so it can be managed from both the MDM systems. So now here, if it's on-prem, SCCM would be the MDM authority. Okay, if it's in Intune, so Intune would be the MDM authority. So if we want both MDM authorities to manage these devices, we require a co-management. Okay, so for co-management, you require a Windows 10 version, which is 1709 or later. You require an on-premise domain join device, okay, through which we can set this up. We require a valid Intune license. We require a MDM scope that to be configured for user. We require a hybrid AD join as well, and we require SCCM version 1710 or later. Okay, SCCM, I'm talking about the console, okay, through which you are managing your devices. So I hope we are not on 17 or 10, but this is the minimum requirement. I'm saying whatever, if you are using 25.3, the latest version, that is also fine. Whatever is the latest for your SCCM, okay, console, you utilize that, because that is having much latest capabilities. Then we require devices that to be targeted via SCCM collection. So we require a collection created. Okay, maybe you can call it like pilot. In that, we require to set that device. We need to add the devices which are to be tested for the co-management, and in that pilot group, we require to make these machines sit, and then share the workload. Okay, share the workloads, and accordingly SCCM and Intune both will manage that device. So in workloads also there are lots of things in sense, whether you want to choose compliance policy, whether you want to look for the Office 365 apps and other areas. So you need to choose what you exactly want. So these machines which are part of this collection or group, okay, will only be adhering to those workloads which we have set, right? If we are setting up nothing and we are just keeping the collection, it will not work. we require we require these many things. Okay, so we require SCCM to handle, for example, device registration process, and where we do not require any group policies or something for the enrollment. And then co-management will trigger, where Intune will also take precedence, like for example company compliance policies. So Intune will take care only compliance policies for these machines, but the application deployment and other areas of for these machines we are not touching, or we are not making any changes. Okay, so the co-management is something. Co means called together. Okay, so together co-management, like SCCM and Intune, so together they are going to manage this. That is what co-management. Okay, there is nothing we need to get confused for this. And no conflicting of group policies. So ensure when you setting up this co-management there is no conflicts with the group policies, and if that is there, then it will not set up this co-management. Co-management will not work. There will be lots of challenges and error messages. So we require to target and identify that conflicting group policies. We need to exclude that for that particular device or machine, and then we will try to set the co-management. So that is co-management, especially designed to manage both like SCCM and Intune. And here the registration process will be handled by SCCM only. It will not be handled by Intune. Intune will only work for the certain workloads which we were going to define. So we have very dedicated sessions for all these uh, topics. All dedicated sessions we are going to cover in next coming classes. So do not worry, it's just giving you heads up about enrollment methods, what are enrollment methods are available in our Intune. All right, so that was Windows piece. Now we'll jump to more details I just have added. So if you are like in a one chart, I just thought of covering. If you're doing a manual enrollment method, so we require 1607 or later. Devices is not AD register. Okay, as I said, it will go to device management sort of things, where devices will not be registered. Then we require auto enrollment. So in that we require 1607 and later. It will register the device in Entra. Okay, and MDM scope needs to be set for that user. GPUs, if you are setting up through the GPU, we require 1709, and we require these machines to be hybrid AD joined. Okay, what we need, we require machines to be sitting in the right OU. If machine is not part of that OU where group policy is applied, then it will not work. Then autopilot, where we require a machine that is 1703 or later. Of course, we are touching up to 2503 and 25 latest version. So autopilot, where we require either machines to be Azure AD joined, or it needs to be hybrid AD joined. Okay, here to upload the device entry we require a hardware hash, and hardware hash is like through a PowerShell we can extract that hardware hash from a device, and then we can upload that in our portal. Then co-management is required 1703, and we require machines to be hybrid AD joined, and SCCM version is to be latest, and MDM scope that to be set. Okay, so that is all about Windows enrollment. Okay, I hope everyone is clear. Any doubt, anything,
Yeah,
you let me know.
Just a couple of questions on the co-management. Obviously, SCCM plays the main role.
Mhm.
So, what is the connector between SCCM and the Intune? Is there a connector like you mentioned Entra ID connector or ODJ? Is there a connector required, or it is automatically providing you've created a link, it will automatically join as a hybrid?
Okay. So, first of all, let me tell you that the ODG connector, which I talked about, so this is
Oh,
especially for autopilot, okay, not for co-management's sense.
okay,
And when we are trying to connect the both environments, okay, there is one thing that is called. I'll just clear the screen so I can write it up. Uh, so here we require when you're doing a cloud attach configuration, okay, when you're doing a cloud attached configuration, that times it allows you to like when you're setting up co-management, you require a cloud attached configuration. That configuration is only required to set up this connection in between. So there is no especially there is no connector that is required that to be installed, but it's integrated process. So co-management itself, when you're setting up your cloud attached configuration, that itself works as a connector, and this feature is especially to integrate both SCCM and Intune simultaneously. Okay, there is no physical connector as such is required.
okay. So in SCCM, we'll be managing all the MDM
Mhm.
elements. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and the other one, I think you may have just touched on that, ODJ connector. So
Mhm.
how is that installed? Is it only installed when you run the auto enrollment, or it is actually installed in a hybrid environment or anything?
ODJ is required, I said, like when you're doing autopilot. So that times ODJ is required. ODJ is especially when you are doing a hybrid Azure AD join, okay, where we have a devices which are joined to on-premise Active Directory and registered with your Entra, okay. Then what ODJ will connect, ODJ like there is like 13 14 steps that runs that
Okay,
for ODJ. So
okay,
I'll explain you a minimal way of ODJ connector, which is like it will facilitate the offline domain join blob delivery, okay.
oh,
This is especially from Intune to on-premise domain controller. So there's lots of steps which runs in the background, and ODJ connector will act as a bridge in between your Intune and on-premise AD. So lots of steps that are running in the background where we require an offline domain join blob and other set of parameters. I don't want to confuse
sure, sure.
participants here, but
Yep,
it's plain and simple, especially when you're doing on-premise when you're doing hybrid and you require an on-premise Active Directory and registered with Entra ID your device, then ODJ is required to add your device to hybrid,
okay,
a hybrid instance on-premise domain AD.
okay.
That is the only plain role of ODJ connector. So ODJ connector will only forward whatever the request is coming from Intune, and then it will forward it to the corporate network device.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we have a very dedicated session. So lots lengthy session for this ODJ. So it's lots of steps are there. We will touch upon. Okay. So I hope you guys clear with the auto enrollment. Okay. Let's jump into next slide, uh, which is called Android. So I hope everyone is using Android devices. So Android is device where we require at least a minimum version. I think we are more than that, but uh, we require at least 4.0 or later. Okay. So these we require first for BYOD, we require Intune license. We require Android OS version 5.1 or the latest, and device restriction for Android Enterprise. Okay, so Why legacy method and modern method? We'll talk about it. So there are two main categories which is determined by Intune admins. Okay, one is where we are going to use with Android device admin, and the second one is Android enterprise. So now let's understand the difference. uh, this is earlier before the Android enterprise. This is like two devices. Okay, this is called uh, okay, leave it. I'll so Android device admin, what they used to do, this legacy method, if you have a corporate device, okay, so what it will do, it will it will block the entire device. Okay, it will not give you any room for your personal applications. Okay, if any one application that is installed on this machine as an corporate, okay, it will it will enable such policies which will govern the entire device. Okay, whatever, whether you have personal device, personal applications, or whatever, it will it will govern the entire device. And if admins want, they can entirely remove or wipe the device, and that will also remove your personal stuff. Okay, if you are setting up any policies, that will also apply to your personal applications as well. If they are changing any settings pertaining to device level, that will also affect your personal applications or personal choices, whatever you have. So Android device admin used to manage the entire device, and that is that has been decommissioned by Google itself. Okay, because this was really pathetic, and users were really having very hectic, and it was very difficult to them to manage the device if they have enrolled with corporate. Okay, so there were no choice of being personal, it was all managed by corporate devices. This has been decommissioned by Google. I mean, it has been decommissioned, or it's going to be decommissioned soon, but it's no longer being used right now. So admin device, Android device admin, it's not being used, and it has been deprecated. So it's a legacy method. Okay, now we are going to talk about the new method, which is called enterprise. So here in enterprise, there is called containerization. Okay, so in this container they are segregating, this is corporate and this is your personal. So whatever applications you are setting up here, okay, that will only be managed by admins. Okay, IT admin, and they will not touch your personal stuff. Okay, in such ways they are going to in such way they are going to only talk to this device over the corporate profile. They are not going to touch upon your personal device, personal profile, and there will no data leakage in between both the containers, because they are both separate containers. So this containerization is managed especially for the corporate devices, or personal devices also, but we having a corporate container, and we are separating this with corporate container. Okay, so this is called corporate container and this is called personal container. So that's why the data leakage is not possible, because we having two containers set up in this. So this is approach is highly suitable when you're doing a BYOD concept. Okay, in BYOD concept we are going to do this. And when you're doing setting up your device, personal device, in the corporate container, so corporate container is going to make the changes for all the applications. They will have access to read the device details like serial number, device model name, and manufacturer, and all sort of things, which is nothing personal, it's commonly used, it's open. They will try to set the compliance level, like they will set a password, they will ensures that device camera, if you are setting, you working with some corporate agencies or corporate companies where camera is not in allowed, they will set those settings only, but they will not touch anything in your personal space. Also, they will, if they need to remove anything from here, okay, they don't need to touch your personal, it they can easily wipe uh, the applications or whatever the data is, they can easily do that. Okay, so that is why this is specially designed for BYOD. Just give me a 1 minute. All right, sorry, I was getting a call. So yeah, so I was talking about the Android Enterprise. This is preferred methods now, and this is utilizing a containerization where data is separated in a corporate and personal device. Both are separate. Uh, no one is going to engulf any a piece of space. So personal space is different and corporate space is different. Okay, now there are two profiles which are going to manage your device, your Android device. Okay, one profile is something called work profile, which is specially for BYOD. Okay, this is for your personal, and this is device ownership. So there are three ways of setting it up. So this is company owned device, and this is especially designed when you are having a company device which is fully managed device which is owned by corporate, and we have a container, the sole container of corporate is setting it up here. So kosu, this term you will hear when you getting the interviews. Okay, they will ask you like what is kosu. So kosu stands for this S. Just remember like this, S stands for single. Okay, so this is for especially for kiosk devices. Kiosk devices are single devices where one application is running, like on airport if you go, or any railway station or something, where one application is running where you do not require any user login. You are simply putting up your PNR details and all, and you get the ticket printed. Okay, that comes especially for the airports, and when you go to shopping malls also, right? In shopping malls also you have a barcode scanner. Okay, so in that barcode scanner you just scan the cloth and you get all the details about that purchase. Then you put your mobile number or address, and then you ship that directly from the store itself, and you will get that package delivered to your home address. So that is what I'm talking about here. Now so let's understand kiosk mode. This kiosk mode is specially for the single devices where we do not require any frequent user intervention or user login. Okay, that is called single devices. Only one application, and that applications to be whitelisted. That application whitelisting in sense that applications it should come from the corporate itself, and that applications should be MAM aware. Okay, MAM is not that MAM, it's MAM for mobile application management. So A stands for applications, so that application should be MAM aware. Means if you're doing any copy paste, or if you're leaking any data, or if there is any changes happening on that application should aware what is happening with me. Okay, that is called MAM. So there are MAM policies. There is a separate session we're going to cover for that, and we'll talk about more about MAM. So this is kiosk single device. Now Kobo stands for business only. Okay, business only means this device will be fully managed, and in this device will not have that personal container, it will be shrunk. Okay, so fully managed means this device is only meant for the business purposes. You cannot have any personal stuff on this device. Okay, and scope means personally you can have, like, this is a company profile, but still company device, but still we can have a corporate and personal stuff on this device. Okay, that is called COPE. So personally enrolled device, I would say, in that, just to keep you remember. So COSU and COBO both are especially for the corporate enrollments. Okay, authentication is typically performed by scanning a QR code. Okay. Uh, Sorry, I think this has not changed. Wait. So COSU, yep. So COSU, as we talked about, where we require Intune license. Okay, we require Android version 5.1 or later. QR code is required to set this COSU profile. Okay, without QR code we will not be able to set. And device restriction for Android enterprise, otherwise user will last setting up in admin mode. So for that we require a restriction set for that user, and applications needs to be whitelisted. As I said, that application should be coming from corporate, and this should not be like WhatsApp or Facebook. Okay, but that should be something, some application which is sensible and designed for corporate only. Then Kobo, as I said, so Kobo is also having this similar approach, but it's gonna be fully managed. So we require Intune license, we require version 5.1 and later. QR code is also needed for this, device restriction, and Microsoft Intune applications. So we can set Microsoft applications like whatever is coming from 365, like Outlook or Excel, PPT for PowerPoints, and all sort of things. We can do it here on this fully managed device. Okay. So in Kobo, when you're setting up, we require Microsoft Intune app. Okay, which whatever version of company portal. Uh, okay, whatever company portal as latest version is there, that needs to be installed, and that is called Intune application. Okay, we used to call it Intune application. Now it has renamed to company portal. So remember always, COSO and Kobo, we require a QR code. Okay, we are requiring a QR code. Without QR code is not. So this is an interview question. When while setting up COSO and Kobo, do we require any additional step? Yes, we require additional step. We require a QR code through which we can scan these devices, and then we can set this up. Okay, so that was Android version. Okay, and I think just missed it up. Kobo, yeah, Kobo is covered, right? And let's talk about the Mac device. So I mean, I don't know how frequent you'll get this enrollment, but especially if you're doing it when you're setting up with your client, if you're doing this setup. So always remember there are two ways of setting up. One is called manual method, and the another one called device enrollment program, which is specially used for the corporate devices. Okay, so here manual method, we require end user to install company portal application and have the Intune license. Okay, so two things we require. One, we require a company portal, and then Intune license. Okay, these two things is required for manual. And DEP, of course, this is used for bulk enrollment, and this is specially designed for corporate one. So what are the prereqs for this? We require APNS service. Okay, so APNS service will be enabled once you will set the connection for your Mac device, for your Apple devices. Okay, then we require if you're setting up DEP, we require a DEP profile. So I hope I to have no. Okay, so for DEP profile, we require DEP setting. We require a DEP profile. We require a DEP token, and we require to upload the serial numbers to your ABM. Okay, I'll just clear. I just write it down. So what things are required? So okay, so first is in manual method, as we talked, we require a company portal and Intune license. But if you are doing a DEP, so in DEP we require a DEP profile. Okay. Second, we require a dep token. Okay. And then we require device serial number, right? So device serial number, and then that device we require a ABM access. If you don't have ABM access, it will not work. Okay. So these things are especially required for your dep profile setup. Okay. So let's understand in more. Uh, I just tried setting up something. Let's see. Okay, so enrollment methods, I'll just do a zoom. So when you're setting up your iOS enrollment, in iOS enrollment, there are three ways: manual, dep, Apple configurator, right? Apple configurator, where you require a Mac device, a physical Mac device to set that Apple configurator. Windows enrollment, where require a manual enrollment is there, auto enrollment is there, GPU is there. Three are there: auto enrollment and GPU, where require a hybrid AD join. Autopilot bulk enrollment, there are two ways. One is normal AD join, where the device will go to Entra, it will be registered only. Second is hybrid AD join, where you will require a ODJ connector, okay, to set this up. Then there is a co-management. So co-management, we require a cloud attach, and we require to set a connection in between both the environment SCCM and Entra. And once that environment is set, we are going to leverage this co-management piece, right? Then Android enrollment, there are two methods. One is Android device methods, which is device admin, which is legacy, which is not being used currently by anyone. Android enterprise, which provides you containerization, where we can set BYOD and corporate owned devices, especially when I'm talking about Kosu and Kobu. Okay. And Mac enrollment, this is where we require a manual company portal that to be installed, and dep when you're doing a corporate bulk device enrollment. Okay. So these methods are especially for enrollment types available, right? Next, I just have a breakdown. So if you're going the Intune devices, if you're doing a manual method, so BYOD, we require a company portal. Intune license, APNS means your Apple ID. Once you set the Apple ID, APNS service will start. Dep profile, especially for corporate and bulk provisioning, we require Apple Business Manager access. We require dep token and profile. We require a device serial numbers, and we require a license and APNS service. So APNS service will be active as soon you will set the connection. When you I'll show you where to go and set it up. Okay. Apple configurator, so we require a Mac device and a software installed. We require a USB connection. Then we require an enrollment profile that to be pushed on that device. We require an Intune license, and we require a APNS. So all Apple services, if you are setting up, you require a APNS. Okay, without that you will not get this. Okay, next, for Windows devices, so Windows devices, there are methods. One is called manual. Here in manual method, we require no Azure AD registration. As I said, if you're going with device registration or device management, you do not require any registration. We require a minimum version of Windows 10, 16, 07 and plus, okay, or later version, and require a Intune license. When you're going auto enrollment, especially when you're doing Entra ID registration, register devices, in that case, we require first, we need to have that MDM scope set. We require Windows 10 latest version, and we require a Intune license. All right. And now when you're doing GPU, so GPU we require, this is especially for on-prem domain. So GPU will not work on your personal devices. Make sure. So GPU stands only for hybrid AD join environment, where MDM scope you need to set. We need to have Windows version at least 17 or 9 or later, and Intune license. Okay, so then GPU will be applied. In GPU, I will also tell you like what things do you enable for the enrollment, and how to apply this for a particular OU. If the machine is part of that OU, that GPU will be applied and it will work. Autopilot, especially as I said, it's meant for corporate where we require a special premium license from AD, Entra ID. We require hardware hash that to be uploaded in Intune. We require autopilot profile. We require Windows 10 on the latest version, especially minimum version is 1703, and MDM scope that to be set. All right. Same goes with co-management. So co-management, we require hybrid AD join, SCCM version 1710, not 3. Sorry, SCCM, especially console I'm talking about. This required 1710, but now we are on the latest console version, so not to worry. Windows 10 1709 Intune license and MDM scope set. Okay, so that is for this Windows. Okay, let's talk about Android. So for Android devices, when you're doing the legacy, when you're doing a legacy method here, so legacy method was something when it was managing the entire device, as I talked about, right? There was no BYOD concept. So if you are enrolling one device, it will be completely enrolled for the corporate one, and there will not be anything personal on that device. Okay, everything will be read by the ID admin, and no containerizations. Because of that, uh, the privacy and share models all sort will be restricted. So it is deprecated, it's been decommissioned. Now the recommended one is Android Enterprise. So here the recommendation is we have a data containerization. As I talked, there is a personal container and there is a corporate container. So BYOD, if you are setting up BYOD, so there will be a personal container that will be separated. When you're setting up KOSU devices, which is single app and kiosk device especially, and Kobo is simply for the multiple application, but there is no personal stuff. Okay, that is called business only, business profile. And Android version 5.1 and later is required, and there we require a Intune license. Okay, then let's talk about the Mac device. So for Mac device, we require a company portal that to be installed on that. We require that users to have Intune license and APNS service to be configured. When you're doing a dep profile, so for dep, it's especially for corporate devices or in the bulk provisioning. We require Apple Business Manager access. We require dep token and profile. We require device serial numbers. Okay, that to be added, and Intune licenses and APNS service. Okay, so that is all for today. Any questions, any confusion, any doubt, please feel free to ask.
Vaibhav,
questions?
I have a question. For managing Apple iOS, which tool is this? It's Jamf or Intune? Because many are telling that Jamf has advanced features than Intune.
Okay, so in my personal experience, I would say Jamf is the one, is the best option. Okay, but it depends upon your environment, your organization's environment, what are the priorities and what are the existing infrastructure. Okay, some people are also using Kanzi. Okay, so Jamf, if I'm talking about Jamf Pro, which is especially for Mac OS, iOS, iPads, and TV OSs. Okay, where Intune gives you the cross platform where we can manage Windows, Mac OS, iOS, Android, and Linux. Okay, so two separate platform focus. What is your focus? Like if in your organization you have more than your corporate is using Apple devices more than Windows or anything. Okay, at that point of time, yes, you can prefer the Jamf Pro. What is depth with Jamf? What you can do, you have a deep integration with Apple Business Manager. Okay, uh, in Intune, there is very basic configuration profiles or shell scripting that you can do, but in Jamf Pro, we can do multiple deep integration with ABM, Apple Business Manager. We can do a zero touch deployments. We can do advanced scripting. We can create smart groups, extension attributes, all sort of things we can do with Jamf Pro. So technically, if I say yes, Jamf Pro is having more features than Intune. If say Jamf Protect is there, there is like compliance automation. So lots of things Jamf Pro gives, which Intune lacks. And but yes, pricing wise, if I say Intune is cost effective, especially if you're going with bundled licenses, Microsoft 365 bundled. But Jam Pro is higher in cost. But yes, it's being justified because of the Apple's specific capabilities. Okay, there is like a small, not small, but I would say strong community who is very responsive in support. And if you're having a very Apple heavy environment, okay, where you require a granular control over the Apple devices, go with Jam Pro.
Okay, okay, Vibhav.
Vibhu, on the bring your own device, if you have Android, and at what stage does the container gets created? Is it when you register the device into Intune, the containers are created? And the next question is, what happens if I don't have enough storage? I've got 10 gig of storage. For my personal, I have used 9 gig. I only have 1 gig. Would that be a factor as well? Because if he's doing container, it would need to have enough storage as well. Is that another factor that you need to consider?
Okay, so first question, as you said, when you're setting up container for BYOD, right? So you asked like in BYOD, which state that container is going to create it, right?
Yes.
So this is Android work profile is especially that is the one which is creating the container. Okay, that is state called container. So this is created during the device registration process when via your Intune company portal. So as soon your Android BYOD is registered, okay, there will be a secure sandbox area created on your device. Okay, that will be separating your corporate data applications and your personal data applications. Okay, so as soon the uh, registration completes, your personal your container is created where your corporate data and application will be managed by Intune, and personal application data will remain private and untouched. Okay, so IT admins cannot enforce any thing on personal, but they can only enforce via the work profile. Okay.
Okay.
So at time of enrollment, that is the first question's answer. At time of enrollment, the state container becomes, which is called work profile. Okay. And the second question, I think you asked about the size, right?
Correct.
So, okay. So BYOD, when you're setting up BYOD, especially for work profile container, it will hardly take like 100 to 200 MB. Okay. And your company portal is hardly taking like 20 or 30 MB, not more than that. And if you are having managed applications like Outlook, Teams, OneDrive, and all sort of things, so it will take around 100 to 300 MB. Depends upon your application size. How is it? And app data and cache. So depends upon the usage, how grow it could be over the time, right? So what is the baseline is when you're setting up your basic BYOD setup and you have 2-3 Microsoft applications which does not have much than more than 600 MB, something like that. So I would say less than 1 GB is more than enough setting up all this.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. All right. So anything from anyone? Otherwise, we're good to wind up. I'm sorry, but I'm not commencing the next batch. We have some personal emergency here. So we will tomorrow. I just wanna say if there is anyone from the old batch as well, and for this batch as well. We are going to commence the Perfect Your Resume session where we'll be talking about the resume, how we need to craft the resume, what sort of things we should bring in front, what thing we should keep in bold, and what sort of information we should keep in the resume and what should not. Also, this to craft your perfect resume. So tomorrow at 12 p.m. we are going to have this session. So I require everyone to please participate and make changes in your resume if not, if those are not aligned with the format which I am going to suggest, because that format is gonna give you ease access and prompt response if you are setting up in such a way. Uh, so that is what I thought of keeping this session. It's going to be very interesting because we are going to review other resume as well, but we will try focusing on the one which is a standard format. We as an Actance, we are going to use it, and we suggesting our fraternity to utilize this more so we can have fast response coming from the HRs and companies. Okay, so let's connect tomorrow. 10 a.m. class will remain active for tomorrow as well. We'll be talking about Windows Autopilot, and 12 p.m. we are going to cover the Perfect Your Resume session. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So, and done today, I tried recording this from another tool as well. So I hope that we will have some good resolution for this session. Let's see. I'll also see the recording later and see if
Appreciate
that
it.
works.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your feedback. I really appreciate. It was really, it was really touching. But because I wasn't knowing and I didn't even pay the
Yeah,
attention on
but
that. But
I think
yes,
this is very beneficial for your
exactly,
future, students.
exactly.
There's a lot of videos which are very clarity is very
Yeah.
good, and when they see
Yes.
yours, your explanation is brilliant. But however, the content is when you see it wasn't as sharp. So if you can improve on that, I reckon you will get more
Then,
students.
to be very honest, I mean, just to counter on your answer, let me tell you, it was never meant to record the session. It was only, I mean, the priority was to give you more knowledge on
Correct.
one-to-one session and try to mitigate all your questions, in the session. It was never intended to record the session, but
Oh,
there
okay.
were students who like they were unable to join at times, and they requested to have the recorded session and keep it
Ah,
somewhere on the website.
okay.
So after 1 year we thought of talking to Odoo, and then we try to create us our own space, and then we trying to dump those recordings over there. But it was never intended. But thanks
Okay.
to you, I'm now purely focused on recording as crisp, as clear as possible with high resolution. So we should, I mean, students like you who wants to rehearse, or you just want to do a after the session you just want to rephrase what was covered in the class. So especially I'm doing this for you. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So
Appreciate it. Thank you.
thanks a lot. So okay, winding up for this session for today. Thank you so much, everyone. And those who are appearing for interviews or who have started for the interviews, please join tomorrow's session. It's really essential. Okay, take care.
Thanks, Vibhu.
Bye bye.
Have a
Thank
nice
you.
day.
Bye.